Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Troy Sage, local realtor, and I'm dedicated to doing real estate differently. And in this video, I'm excited to share with you an interview with my friend and realtor Emerson in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, throughout this video, we're going to discuss the different characteristics of how real estate is handled in Brazil compared to the United States. We're going to talk about how properties are purchased, the different types of financing, the different roles that realtors play, and overall the different feel from one country to the next when it comes to real estate. So whether you're thinking about investing in real estate in Brazil, or you're curious about the entire process, or maybe just want to know a different approach that's taken in Brazil compared to the United States, then this video is for you. Let's dive in and check out this interview with my friend and realtor, Emerson.
Emerson, I am so excited to spend time with you to talk about our love, our passion, real estate here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. One of the things I want to ask is, when I'm walking around Brazil, I see your sign, another sign, for sale, for sale, for sale, for sale, 5 signs on one house. What's up with that?
Troy, thanks again for this moment, for our chat. Is this situation you mentioned quite common in Brazil? Here in Brazil, it's not common for them to work with exclusive contracts. So, the property is available to multiple real estate agencies and agents. So, there's this ongoing battle over local real estate. There aren't many real estate agencies that work exclusively.
So if I'm understanding, in Brazil, you can have more than one realtor represent a seller, which makes it, I can imagine, difficult. In the United States, almost everything is exclusive. So one realtor for the buyer, one realtor for the seller, and they negotiate. So it's totally different in Sao Paulo, Brazil. In Brazil in general, right? This is very common to have more than one real estate agent. When it comes to marketing the property, in the United States, we have the MLS. So I can see every property available. What do you have here in Brazil?
Well, here in Brazil, it depends on whether a real estate agent has their own client base or is connected to a network of real estate agencies. We don't have anything like MLS here in Brazil. These are real estate agencies, each with their own networks. The network I'm part of today is called the Paulo Roberto Learte Network. We have about 50 stores, roughly 50 real estate agencies, so we share a network of 60,000 properties. But there are more options with other brands and agents, and we need to approach them directly to propose partnerships or referrals.
Totally different.
Yes.
Totally different. So let me ask you this. When a seller decides to sell their property, and you list their property,
Okay.
and a buyer comes, maybe with another realtor, possible,
Sim.
who pays the commission?
The commission is paid by the owner, the seller, you know. That's something that happens quite often. Even though the owner usually says, I want an amount of at least X in my hand, you should include your commission. Sometimes, in very rare situations, this commission is negotiated with the buyer, but in 99% of cases, it's the owner who pays.
In the United States, a little thing that has changed is there was a national settlement, and now the buyers have to sign a contract with their agent, and the seller doesn't have to pay commission. And honestly, to me, it's smoking mirrors. It doesn't matter. The seller still pays 99% of the time in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this: if I want to buy a house from you, do I sign a contract that you're going to represent me?
So no, there's no contract with the buyer, only with the seller. Sometimes it happens that a buyer uses one agent, then another, and ends up getting confused. This is the downside of our market.
So you could show me a home, and 1 hour later, I call another realtor and they show me the same home, and I buy it from the other realtor, and you make no money.
But what's even worse is when the buyer goes directly to a house that was shown to them by an agent. He's trying to make a direct deal, cutting out the brokerage fee. This is very common in Brazil.
That is very interesting, and it makes your job more difficult. But if I want to look at homes, how do you find homes for me to look at? Are they only your listings, or can you show other properties? What do you use to show me properties?
Good question. Since we don't have an MLS, we rely heavily on the broker's relationship, getting to know other real estate agencies and agents in the area. So first, I show my homes along with the network I'm part of. Later, I'll talk to other real estate agencies to see what they have that might work for you.
So instead of one MLS, you have multiple networks you can look in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to imagine that if I say, I want a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms and you can't find it anywhere, you probably start calling or everyone you know that might have a 3-bedroom apartment and say, hey, I have a buyer. Are you interested in selling? We do the same thing in the United States. So in Brazil, as you can see, the realtors work different but equally as hard on a constant basis to build a relationship and then find the property that fits the buyer's wants and needs. How do you find sellers? Do you make phone calls? Do you send mail? Do you knock on doors?
To find the property owners, that's the first main point. So, we reach out to our investors and friendly clients and ask for referrals. There are a lot of apartments, condos, So, I already go to certain buildings where I know there's that type, and I have an old database from the network I'm part of. It shows all the apartments that are rented out there by some owner or seller. So, I asked him if he wants to sell the property, all right. So, I get in touch directly with the owners. Another option, if you're in a residential area, is to walk around and look for sale, signs from homeowners. They're selling it themselves, the stuff we call FSBOs, or signs from other real estate agencies, and I call them to suggest partnerships. So that's how we need to figure it out.
So it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of, same in the United States, FSBOs, for sale by owners,
Yes.
of course, because they're raising their hand saying, I want to sell my house. And if you have a buyer, it's a phone call, then you negotiate.
Yeah.
The same in the United States. This is no different in the United States than Brazil. It's all in the relationship that you have with your realtor. And when we talk about selling a home in the United States, I do pictures. I do a 3D tour of walking through the home. I do a video. I do drone, and then I do a commercial, a video commercial. That is my standard for listing a house. Not every realtor does that, but that's my standard. What can you expect in Brazil from an agent for marketing the property?
All right, here we can split it into two types of professionals. The kind of person who works without much commitment, maybe 3 days a week or just a few hours a day. They don't invest much in their job, they just does the bare minimum. Like just posting the owner's ad on a network or a portal. The broker who's more professional invests a bit more in marketing, doing some of the things you mentioned. When we have an exclusivity contract that allows us to invest more. So yeah, we also work with drones, we do virtual tours, 3D tours, and we create various scenarios for promotion. Since there's no MLS here, in my case, that's what I do. When I get exclusive properties, I call all my partners, real estate agents, other realtors, and I say, hey, I just found a great house here, a nice apartment. I'll call the first real estate agency, then the second, the third, and even up to 120 agencies to speed up the sale of this property. I also invest a lot in marketing to attract buyers.
So we do real estate very similar, right? So in the United States, I pay for all the marketing. If I don't sell the house, I lose the money.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same in Brazil. You have to pay for the pictures. You have to pay for the droning. You have to pay for the tour. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And then are there additional websites? So you have different networks. Are there additional ways to pay for marketing to promote the property?
Yeah, here in Brazil, besides the real estate agency's own website, there are other real estate portals like Zapamovias, Viva Real, OLX Web, and many others. If we advertise everywhere, it'll cost a lot. So we need to find the most effective ways to get the word out.
So it's the exact same in Brazil as it is in the United States. The realtor is working and they're also taking care of marketing, which comes out of their pocket. So if you're in Brazil or in the United States, make sure you're working with a realtor that is full-time, that is paying for these services to expose your property. Equally as important, that's what attracts buyers to want to buy the property. If you don't know that it's available and you have no idea what it looks like, it's going to sit on the market for a very long time. So some things in Brazil are the exact same as United States. As realtors, we take a risk when we take a listing, we start paying for advertising, that if it doesn't sell, we don't get paid. I wish Brazil had an MLS because you would have more product to sell, more exposure for the sellers. As a realtor, I have a fiduciary duty to my client, to the buyer or to the seller, to protect their money, to make sure the contract is proper, to negotiate and make sure we go through the process so the seller gets money and the buyer gets keys. What's a responsibility of a realtor here in Brazil? The same or different?
Yes, it's the broker's responsibility. Once the contract is signed, we need to share all the transaction details with both parties to keep things moving smoothly. So, we're co-responsible in this kind of operation. What's a bit different from the United States is that here, we aren't required to have an insurance policy to cover the other parts for any damage. Just leave it to the broker. So that's pretty common. Buyers tend to pick real estate agents who have a wide network, a strong brand, and a reputable agency backing them up to ensure the deal is taken seriously. It's a bit tougher for freelance brokers who can't quite convey that level of seriousness, but yeah, we're jointly responsible for all the operations.
So we work, not only are we friends, in our business, we work the same. The one thing in the United States, when I have a contract, I send it over to a title company. The title company makes sure that there's no liens, there's nothing on the property that's going to stop from selling to the buyer. So I do the contract, it goes to title, they take care of everything. We meet at the title company at the end, seller gets money, buyer gets keys. I understand here in Brazil it's different. The attorneys take care of, you don't have title company, right?
First, to make a transaction official, after the real estate agencies, the agents need to adjust the commercial terms. So the part of the contract that's developed includes how the payment will be made and the rules. Everything is put into that document. Then the legal team checks the certificates to make sure everything's okay. Once the payment is made and the buyer gets the keys, everything's good to go. This is recorded at a notary's office.
So in both the United States and Brazil, for the seller and the buyer, we have to protect each other, both sides, so that when the title changes hands, it's truly clean and a fresh start for the buyer, and the seller has no attachment. So slightly different process, but the exact same concept. So in the United States, if I want to buy a house as a buyer, from the time the seller agrees to the contract, it's roughly 30 days for me to get keys. Is that normal in Brazil, 30 days, or what's the process timeline for buying a home?
That's not normal. At 30 days, it's usually about 2 months. When everything's sorted with the property documents, it can definitely be done in 30 days. But let's say most of the time, things aren't all set. The notary office can sometimes take a while, but the main reason it goes over 30 days is that most transactions involve bank financing, which can stretch it to 60. I've handled quite a few cases here that I managed to wrap up in 30 days. But yeah, it's rare to have cash transactions for buying property, because you just schedule at the notary, go there, and handle all the paperwork. And we, the brokers, check if everything is alright with the parties involved. Once everything's good, it's just a matter of handing over the keys. What usually takes time is when the owner lives in the property, and then, according to our local rules, keys will only be handed over 30 days after full payment is received. So it ends up being more than 30 days.
I get it. So in the United States, 30 days with the bank. But here in Brazil with the bank, it could take 60, 90 days, could take longer. Which brings me to another question. Here in Brazil, is it common that people go to the bank for a loan, or do most people pay cash?
Most of them go to the bank. In a minority, let's say in the neighborhood I'm in today, currently 30% pay in cash, but the majority of people use money from the bank.
Similar then. Similar to the United
Yeah.
States, that most people are going to use the bank. So let me ask this. If a bank is going to loan me money, if I'm Brazilian, obviously American, probably not, right? But if I'm Brazilian or my wife, they're going to loan her money. What are the interest rates, and how long does she have to pay it back?
Okay, well, the taxes in Brazil really depend a lot on the middle class. What we call the lower income class, they end up having rates of 7 to 8% per year. The middle class usually makes up about 10 to 11%. It really depends on your relationship with the bank. This is the average annual rate. It's a fee. Quite high compared to the United States. The average financing period is between 20 and 30 years. The older a person gets, the less time they seem to have. Here's the rule that applies. They do a reverse calculation so that the person is at most 70 or 60 years old. If I'm not mistaken, installments. So they work backwards, allowing for a maximum release of 30 years. Okay, on average it's 20 years, but people here use two tables that we call withdrawal. When one option is more favorable, the person paying off the installments does so over a longer period, paying 2 to 3 installments per month, which gradually reduces the time. There's another type of table where you keep paying the same amount every time. So it really depends on each case. That's the situation here.
So that is very interesting to me, because if you did that in the United States, they call that discrimination. Okay. But I understand the system, because if I'm 65 years old, I might only live 10 more years and the bank's not going to get paid. So logically, that totally makes sense. What would be normal for how long the home stays on the market, how many days? And if you're going to show us homes today, and if I find a home I love, how long do you think it will take us to find a home?
If you're the owner selling the house, they're used to it being on the market for a long time. In some cases, it takes about a year or two. On average, it's 8 to 10 months, but there have been cases where it goes over a year quite often. Now let's talk about buying a property for you. You're going to have a bit of a headache because usually you check out real estate websites like Zap, Viva Real, and OLX Online. Many realtors don't update after the property is sold. I'll tell you, half of them just leave it there. The property, that is. It's advertised to get more leads, but the leads are looking for a property that's already been sold. So they tell the person, hey, this one's already sold, but there's another one. So it's a bit of a hassle. This happens in our market. Usually, when we sell something, we have to remove it. Otherwise, it leaves a lead, a frustrated buyer, you know? So what I can say is, if you don't know how to look, you'll have a bit of work here. If you've got an agent helping you out, they already know how to filter things. They call up, check if it's available, look it up in their system, and we can get things done faster. You should be able to find a property to buy in just a month at most.
I understand exactly what you're saying. And there's websites in the United States, they don't stay on forever, but they'll stay on the internet, third-party websites, not MLS, third-party websites, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. They don't update fast enough. So there are times I'll have a buyer say, I love this house, show me this house, and it's not available. It's been gone for a week. So that is a major challenge for you, there's no doubt. Besides that challenge, what is the biggest challenge in real estate in Brazil right now?
The big challenge? This is for brokers, you know. The brokers don't have much training. If the broker has a self-taught spirit and can find information on his own, it's all on the internet, it's there on YouTube, he can become a professional. But it ends up being important for him to team up with a big local brand. In our case, we've got a university here. Corporate online, I came from real estate, which also had this. So I've been working a lot on this update and always attending talks. So, the main challenge is for the broker to stay up to date.
It is the exact same in the United States. The biggest challenge for entrepreneurs is the proper training on how to build a business and how to build a relationship with people. So there's training for contracts, there's training for your business, there's training for relationships, there's training for everything. And I think in the United States and Brazil, that is the biggest challenge, is that agents don't get enough training. And then those that get the training, that do the work, are successful. You've been doing this a long time. You understand what it takes to build relationships, to be honest, to know your contracts, to know the process. And that's why I'm with you today, because I trust you and I've seen the work in which you've done. Since I'm going to use you as my realtor in Brazil,
Oh, yes.
tell my viewers, our viewers today, now it's ours,
Okay.
right? Brazil and United States, how they can reach you to get your service.
All right, great. Thanks again for giving me this opportunity. Well, basically, anyone who wants to buy a property here in Brazil, you're going to need a trustworthy real estate agent. To find me on social media and my website, we'll leave my contact info here. But if you're over there in the United States, I suggest you look for Troy. Get in touch with me or Troy, and we'll figure out exactly what you want. Here in the city where I am, I can help you. If you're in areas I don't work, I'll recommend other agents in the areas you're looking. Whether it's in Rio de Janeiro, Brasilia, in Amazonas, we will help you. We don't have an MLS, but I'll find an agent within my contacts to get you there. So my recommendation for you over there in the United States is to get in touch with Troy, and he can connect us. I'll be able to find the properties you're looking for. It's not tricky with my contacts. I work with our local network called Paulo Roberto Lear, known as Realtor Real Estate. I'll search for homes, and I'll talk more about it with you. I'm going to leave my contact info with you guys in case you need to reach me in the future, but I still recommend going through Troy.
You are amazing, my friend. I say to you, obrigado for your time. Now, let's go look at houses. Let's show me some homes. Let's buy a
Yes.
casa. So if you're looking for a home here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, reach out to my brother and friend Emerson. He is the guy that knows everyone, and I trust him with my own money. His information is going to be in the description below. And if you like this video, do us a favor, click the like button. That helps us a lot. And if you want to stay current on all things real estate, click subscribe and the bell, and you'll be alerted every time I upload another video. But for now, we're going to go look at some homes. So if you want to see what you can get in Sao Paulo, Brazil, check out the next video.